On page 163, it says open the customer table in design view. So you can right click and do design view if you would like. Then it says click on the row selector for street. So let's do that. Select the whole row. And then it says to change the field size to 25. And you've done this already, so we'll zip through it pretty fast. Select the customer name. So we'll click on customer name. And where it says required property, and realize anytime we're changing stuff in the design view, it's always down here in this field properties box. Okay, so it says you want to go to the required box, and it says yes. So we can click on here and select clear over here and click on the down arrow and choose yes, or you could have just typed yes, whatever makes you happy. Turn the page. On page 164, we're going to specify a range that is allowed, so nobody can put in something that's outside of the range. So select the returns field, so we'll click on returns. And it says that we want a validation rule, so we're going to slide down to this general in our field properties, validation rule right here, and you can click. And then you type the formula, which is greater than, I'm on number 1, page 164, greater than or equal to 0. Alright, so for returns, it has to be greater than or equal to 0, not O, and has to be less than or equal to 30,000. Now, double check your zeros because you don't put in the comma, so there should be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Just double check. And that's going to be the rule. So it will not allow anybody to return something that is negative, and it won't allow them to return anything that's more than $30,000. That kind of makes sense to me. Notice when I clicked into the validation text, which will be a little box that'll pop up for when somebody puts in something incorrect, it automatically spreads it out so that is formatted the way it's supposed to be. So whether you put in spaces or not, or capitals or not, in this case, it'll fix it for you. Now, the validation text, the second bullet on page 164 says, must be at least. And this will be the little box that pops up if somebody types in the incorrect amount. At least $0 and at most 30, and this time you do have to type in the dollar signs because this is text, not something that's generated by Access. You are generating the message. $30,000. Alright, at the bottom of page 164, to specify a specific value, we're going to click in customer type. So we're going to change the customer type, slide down to our general field properties, and now we're going to specify the value is going to be equal UNI. So our default value here. So every time somebody enters a new record, it's going to say UNI. That's going to be the default. So somebody will have to change it if it's going to be something different. All right. Now, and then you can just click somewhere. And notice that it puts in little quotation marks for you also. That's because it's text, not numbers. Now, page 165 is make sure that we're still in the customer type field. And now we want to click on the validation rule. And this is going to be our rule, not our text, our validation rule. So we're going to type equal. So only these things will be able to be entered. HS, equal, HS, or equal, com, or equal, UNI. All right. Now, when we click in validation text, it spreads them out, makes them all the same. And now that means that it will only allow somebody to put HS or COM or UNI as a customer type. If somebody typed in UNC, then that wouldn't work, and you would get an error. So the error message is one that you create, and if you look on page 165, the second bullet at the top of the page says must be HS, COM, or UNI. Alright, and you always want to make sure those look good, because how embarrassing to have the message that you're giving somebody who just messed up with an error in it. Alright, so the next thing, to specify a format. Now, you can make a field, you can force things to have capital letters, whether people type in capital or not, which is perfect when you have a number or like this, a customer number has both letters and numbers. You can make them be consistently in all caps. That way they're all the same, because it's really annoying when it's not. So we're going to click in the format field, erase the @ sign that came when we imported it from an Excel worksheet last chapter, and we'll put the greater than sign, and that is on your exam. So make sure you know, even on your exam, like at the end of the semester, make sure that you know that if you put the greater than sign, it will display lowercase letters as uppercase letters every time. Alright, even if somebody messes up, it will always be uppercase. So on page 166 it says to save it. So we'll slide up here and hit save. And it says things might be wrong. This process, do you want the existing data to be tested? No, we don't, because we know it's fine. Alright. Then we're going to go ahead and close our customer table. Alrighty then. Now, we're going to turn to page 168. And here we're going to actually use the stuff that we just inputted. So we want to open the customer table, and this time it is in datasheet view. Notice that UNI is here for everything. I already showed you that. And it says click on the street field for customer TSCO2, this last one, in the street field. Oh, and they're going to have us do something easy. They want us to change it from Metro to Metropolitan. I'm thinking we can handle this. So, Metropolitan, Politan. And make sure you have a space, which I do. Hit tab, it goes to the next thing. Now, remember my big rule about if I can't see everything, then it's points off? Yes. Go ahead and fix that right now so you don't forget. You always want to remember to fix it so we can see everything. And then we're going to hit save. Wow, that was exciting. And close the customer table. Wow, that was really difficult. I think you got it. So now we're going to open the customer table again, page 169. That's interesting, but okay. And now we want to go to the customer type field and click in the first one. And we're going to leave that one the way it is. So then it says click in the second one. And notice it tells us to change the value to COM. So we're going to click on the down arrow and click on COM. And yes, you just created that. Isn't that cool? Now, you're going to change all the other values to what you see in that figure 3-49 at the bottom of the page. And just for fun, I showed you the clicking on the down arrow way. If you notice on customer type, and you're going, the next one is Calpins ISD. We're going to click there. You can select it and just type the H, and it automatically goes to the next, to the HS. It selects it for you. So if you're a clicker person, you can click, and if you are a typing person, then you can type whatever makes you happy. And you might even want to get a straight edge to make sure you've got them lined up, because it is a little small. So we just did Calpins, Next one is Dart Community College. So come down to Dart, and that one is COM also. I'm a clicking kind of person. And slide down. The next change is for Key Community College. So click on Key Community College and say that as COM. And the next one, Malden Community College, is also COM. Did you ever think we could do a filter for community colleges and do them all at once? Might have been easier. Just saying. Stallone Community College, COM. And the very last one is Tri-State Consortium, and that is a high school, HS. Alrighty then. So university, community colleges, and high schools. We got that. Turn the page. Now, on page 170, there's a figure 3-50. They want you to put in all of these resources needed for each individual client or customer. So once again, with your straight edge, come to resources needed, click on the first open, Applewood State University, and it wants CD/DVD, ebook, Old Man, Old Work, SDVD, and TXT, and then say OK. Cool. And now notice that they all show right here what's been selected, and you can see them all. Cool. Alrighty then. So we're going to click on the down arrow, Broadcom Junior College, and it's audio, PR Man, PR Work, and text. The next one is Christie University, Customer D, and ebook. Then Cal Pens, CDVD, PR Work, SDVD, and text. Alright. Then Camellia State University is audio, CDVD, ebook, Old Man, Old Work, PR Man, PR Work, SDVD, and TXT. Dart Community, CDVD, ebook, Old Man, Old Work, SDVD. First State, audio, CDVD, PR Man, PR Work, SDVD, and TXT. Farnham, CDVD, Customer D, Customer P, ebook, Old Man, Old Work, and SDVD. Key Community, audio, CDVD, ebook, Old Man, Old Work, PR Man, PR Work, SDVD, and TXT. Malden Community College, audio, PR Man, PR Work, and text. And then Mahidable College, audio, CDVD, PR Man, PR Work, SDVD, and TXT. Pratt Institute with our little hyphen, that we put in earlier, CDVD, customer ID, customer P, ebook, oh man, old work, SDVD. Stallone, audio, PR man, PR work. You know, it is pretty cool that y'all made this in text. And Seaborn College, CDVD, customer D, customer P, and SDVD. And Tri-State Consortium, audio, CDVD, ebook, oops, ebook, old man, old work, PR man, PR work, SDVD, and text. Alrighty then. And it probably would be wise if y'all double checked that to make sure you've got them all. So I'm going to make sure we can see this. Yay. Now, since there's so much there, it's kind of common not to list that, so you can go ahead and make it small enough, because no matter what we click on, it's easier to see it like that anyhow. So I will not count off if you make this column small, as long as I can see the entire title, resources needed. Alright? Fair? Alright, close the customer table. And notice if you forget to save, it beeps at you, so that's good. So say yes if you hadn't saved already. Now we're going to update our forms. So the first thing we want to do is right click our customer form. So right click our customer form, and we're going to delete it because we've made a lot of changes. And it says, are you sure? And we're going to say, yes, we are. Now we're going to choose the customer table, and we're going to do a quick form. So create form, and now we have a basic customer form. And now all that changed, if we had changed information in here or changed information in the customer table, then it would have reflected in our existing customer form. But since we added new fields, those don't automatically add in. It was a design change. So that's why we had to go ahead and delete our existing customer form and make a new one. So, and notice all our stuff, and we still have our, whoops, let me switch views. We still have our boxes, so that if we were to enter in more customers or make changes, we can do that from here. Alrighty then, so we're going to hit save and make sure it is called customer form this time. Well, it was last time too. Customer form, and say OK, and then close the form. Now on page 173, it says right click the customer financial report. Slide down and right click and choose layout view. Alright, and then it says close the navigation pane, and then we're going to do add existing fields. So we're going to add in the fields we just added to our customer table. Now on number 2, it says drag the customer type and put it in between customer name and amount paid. So we slide down here on the right hand side and we can grab and drag, and we're going to put it in between customer name and amount paid. Make sure that you have that vertical arrow or vertical bar in between customer name and amount paid, the titles. Let it go, and voila, it dropped in customer type. Then doing the same thing, we can grab total amount field and put it in between current due. So total amount, and put it in between current due and return fields. Then we're going to close. You can either click on the X or click on the box, Add Existing Fields. Both ways closes that. Now notice that we have a dotted line through the middle of our table. What that means is that it now takes up a little over, well, it's on a second page. All right, and that's going to look nasty. So we want to go to Page Setup in our Report Layout Tools. So we click on our Page Setup, and then we're going to change it to Landscape. And now everything is together. Click on Save and close the report. Then on page 174 it says to print the report. So we're going to click on File, Print tab, and since y'all obviously know how to print now, we're not going to print to quick print, we're not going to print to a piece of paper, we're not going to do a PDF print. Just make sure you get how to print correctly on the exam. Alrighty then. So we're going to go to page 175, and I can click on this arrow here to go back. And it says open the book rep table. So we're going to open the book rep table. And then it says tap or click the totals button. So if you notice in this records section here, we can click on totals here, and this is really cool. Alright, so now we have totals, and it wants us to find the total salary. So you can find how much money you've spent on salaries very, very quickly. So we're going to click down at the bottom where our total is. Click on the arrow and choose Sum, and it automatically sums it up for us. Now we'll click like this, and now it's the full deal. You can see the whole thing. On page 176 it says tap or click the totals button to turn it off, and it's gone. So it's something just really quick that you can answer if somebody comes running in the office and says, hey, what is blah 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 blah. It's really very, very, very easy to automatically find out everything. So now on page 176 it says to select the entire data sheet, and then it wants us to go to the Gridlines button. So we're going to come over here under the text formatting section, and this button second to last is Gridlines. So we're going to click on that. And then we're going to choose Gridlines horizontal, so it won't have the vertical grid lines any longer. Now, let me click out so you can see. Okay, so it's just the horizontal grid lines. Now, with the whole thing selected, the next button is a row color, alternate row color. This alternate rows makes it easier to see. So, alternate row color, we are going to use the brown. And to me, this looks like orange, but they call it brown. So, we're going to choose the alternate row color of brown, and voila, there is your orangey looking brown. And then it tells us to choose the font color. Y'all still have it all highlighted. And it is blue. Thank goodness. They used to make it red, and it was so very ugly. So we're going to use a plain blue so that you can read it. And then the font style is going to be MT Bodoni, or Bodoni MT. And you can just type in a B, then O, and you have Bodoni MT right there. Alrighty then, and then you can auto size to make sure everything fits, and very nice. Still not something I would do. And then we're going to close the book rep table. You're gonna love this. And say no when it asks to save the changes. Awesome. But you learn how to change it to make it pretty. Alright then, we're going to create a query for the customer table. So go to create, and query design and customer, close, make it bigger so you can see everything, and double click customer number, customer name, customer type, and resources needed. Alright, and then on page 180 we will run the query and we can see all our stuff, and we're going to do, now notice how the resources needed, how they're all listed out like that. So that's kind of a pain if you're going to run a report. I'm going to show you how to do something different here just a second. So since it's our first query from here, we're going to say save, and we're going to call it Ch3Q01 and say OK. Alrighty then. Now return to design view. I'm going to close this. And what we want to do is we're going to make it show each individual value. So on resources needed, we're going to click at the end of resources needed, type a period, and then type value V. And notice how as soon as I typed the V, the whole ALU showed up. So that's cool. And you can go ahead and just hit tab, and it should leave it in there. Double click. Double check, is it still there? Yes. So now we're going to run the query, and now it's a humongous query, all kinds of stuff, but each one of these are listed individually for each thing. So one thing that would be kind of cool from this is that you could sort this by customer.resources.needed value and find out a total for each one. There's a couple of different things you could do if you wanted to do this. It is a humongous, that's a big query. Alright, and a little daunting. So we're going to do a save as this time, since we're using an existing query and changing it up. So save object as, save as, chapter 3, query 2. Alright, and then hit save or say OK. Then we're going to close that query, and according to the book, it's time for another break.